I was trying to figure out if this was literature pretending to be a mystery, or just like your extreme sports thing. This is like mystery extreme. This is hyped up on steroids in literary talent. Because I couldn't tell which it was. So which is it in your head?
I think it's a mixture of two things. I mean, the genesis of the book came around. I was on the job circuit looking for a job about 2 years ago, and I went to a private college and interviewed, and they just really had no time for me, no interest, and they were, relatively unsuccessfully published or hadn't done something in 10 years. So they say there was a fight. I spat in this guy's face. We had a pushing match and things like this. I left. And so the first chapter or so is really just a scathing attack on the pretentiousness of what the literati and the literati who aren't writing anymore as well. So I think it started that way. The problem with just sort of an academic novel and a rumination on what is art, what is greatness, what is literature, what is schlock, the Stephen King stuff that appears in here, it became more of the kind of central question for me when I stopped spitting and cursing and retreated from it. So again, as a writer who's 42 and has written 8 books and been up for the Booker and various different prizes, it's been hard to get an audience and to figure out where I fit in. And publishers saw a crime element in the Keepers of Truth, and they said, well, you seem to have a capacity to do that, and that that sells books, that genre. So I've had sort of a schizophrenic relationship with writing in terms of, I'm trying to juggle, or, well, you could say trying to genre blend, but try to be true to, probably the reason I do write is not plot-based, but it's more of, say, a critique of something, so I see something aberrant in the academic world and write about it. But of course that has to be fashioned into something grander, into a narrative. And so I've been trying to put the pastiche of the crime in there. So it is a mixture of both.
Let's talk about the plot of this, because there is this very strong mystery plot in it, and the title character, well, he's in the whole book, but he's not really there for most of it. So let's talk about what happens to Mr. E. Robert Pendleton.
He has tenure at a small college, and he's able to survive. He's had a couple of mental breakdowns, but everyone at the college is having mental breakdowns. But what you have is gate crashing by the kind of superstars, especially when it comes to fiction. So somebody who's on the bestseller list comes to the college, and he was a nemesis and also a fellow student of Pendleton back in the 70s. And so this is a crisis point for Pendleton. He just can't figure out how he went nowhere, and this schlock guy who's got I forget the name of the book, but I don't know where my dreams are going, I'll catch up with him later, some kind of glib title. And he eventually, that particular night, ruminates about his life, confesses to a graduate student that he's not writing anymore because the marketplace has basically quelched him. I mean, no one wants to read it. So he attempts suicide, survives the suicide, but is incapacitated, and a graduate student discovers a quasi-Vanity Press book of his that had been published that's in the basement, called Scream, which is then resurrected by the New York Times best-selling author as an existentialist masterpiece. So all of a sudden he's incapacitated, he's reading tragically A, B, C's and just really relearning the language, and now he's a Camus type figure, being referenced with the great existentialist writers. Incapacitated, can't understand what's going on. And again, it's embraced. I think every year you get a couple of novels which are the kind of literati novels, but then you find out that there's potentially the murder at the heart of Scream is a true murder. So now you get the expectation of how do you look at a book. Is a fictional masterpiece, or now if you find out that someone killed somebody, would you take away all the merit of the craftsmanship in it? Like, how do you now look at a book? And I think when I was writing it, there's been instances of the Oprah book, right?
I mean, is this fiction?
And so it seems to be hugely important to people, and issues of plagiarism, of as I trawl the net over the last couple of years, there have been issues of how people accept or how they treat something, given how it's presented to a reading public. So that's what the novel really centers upon at its core, is those issues. But a cop enters it about 1/3 of the way through, and he's in the tradition of the dogged, dark figures, who then tries to uncover what is if this is indeed a real murder or not.
The book is The Secret Life of E. Robert Pendleton. I've been speaking with the author, Michael Collins, and The Secret Life of E. Robert Pendleton is published by MacArthur and Company.